visa route for immigrants has been labelled racist after analysis showed most applicants who feel forced to go through it are people of colour, according to a report. An Indian electric vehicle company will start selling e-scooters in Europe next year. Hero, India's biggest manufacturer, already exporting to 45 countries in Asia, Africa and Latin America, aims to sell in the UK from mid-2025, followed by Spain and France. Well, a big focus, Prime Minister Modi will be visiting the United States between the 21st and 23rd of September. Now, during this visit, our Prime Minister will participate in the 4th Quad Leaders Summit in Wilmington in Delaware, which is being hosted by President Joe Biden on the 21st. India has agreed to host the next Quad Summit in 2025 after a request from the US to host it in 2024. By the way, the Prime Minister will address the Summit of the Future on the 23rd of September at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Additionally, Prime Minister Modi would be holding bilateral meetings with world leaders and discussing issues of mutual interest. This will be on the sidelines of the summit. And continuing a signature move whenever visiting a foreign country, our Prime Minister will meet with members of India's diaspora as well. My colleague Ghazali is tracking the finer details for us. He joins us live at the moment. Ghazali, take our viewers through the Prime Minister's plan of action while he's in the United States.
So this is a 3-day trip to the United States, and besides what you mentioned, certainly it's a very important trip for Prime Minister, as he will also be attending the Quad Summit. And besides Quad Summit, on the sidelines of the summit, the Prime Minister is expected to have a very hectic engagement. One, besides the Indian community engagement, where he will be addressing Indian community. But what is more important is that the Prime Minister will be holding a lot of meetings with US CEOs, and that is what has been the focus of his trips whenever he goes abroad, that how to bring more investment. That is what the External Affairs Ministry was also conveying yesterday, that the Prime Minister will be holding meetings with CEOs at multiple locations in his 3-day trip there. And also very important, the Quad Summit, though India was scheduled to hold the Quad Summit this year, host it here, but with mutual agreement with the United States, this time around the Quad Summit will be is getting held there, and next year India will be holding Quad Summit. And this time around, the maritime and the security in Indo-Pacific region is going to be very important as far as the Quad Summit is concerned. Why? The relevance being that we just saw a couple of days ago the 6-day joint military drill of China and Russia has got over.
Yes.
And many politicians, even in the United States and other countries, those who are the members of Quad, have now hinted this entire grouping of Quad is just not about a grouping of 6 countries, but basically it is there to counter the influence of China, which is growing not only in Asia, but in other continents where US used to hold a sway. So that is going to be the key focus area. And then a lot of joint statements will be issued after Prime Minister holds a separate bilateral meets with the world leaders. So that is why, from this point of view, that not only he will be holding meetings or addressing the Indian community there, he will be holding meetings with the CEOs there. But besides that, there will be very important bilateral meets. Interesting leaders are coming over there because we have a UNGA also scheduled there. So the Prime Minister will not be addressing the UNGA, but he will be addressing the Summit of Future, a very important event of the United Nations in the UNGA. And later, following week, there is the high-level week after his trip gets over, which will be addressed by the External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar.
As always, Ghazali, thanks so much for joining us with the lowdown. For further clarity, we also have with us former Ambassador Ashok Sajanhar. Thank you so much, sir, as always, for making time for us. Now, these talks between our Prime Minister and the US President will take place amid some unease in the India-US ties following Washington's allegations of an Indian link to a foiled plot to kill the Sikh separatist Gurpatwant Singh Pannu. Sir, are you hopeful in terms of the tangible outcomes?
No, absolutely. Thank you very much, Parmeshwar, for having me on your show. Yes, absolutely. I think the India-US partnership has been on an upward ascendant trend for the last many decades, since 2000 when Clinton came to India, but I think over the last 10 plus years, since Prime Minister Modi has been there, I think whether it was with President Obama, President Trump, and now with President Biden, the relationship has gone upwards, has gone forward. So I'm very confident that the discussions, both in the format of the Quad as well as in the bilateral interaction, that this is, what you mentioned about the Gurupatwant Singh Pannu case. That is, a side blip. It might be a small hiccup.
Right.
It's running parallel, but I think the major initiative, the venture, the enterprise of India-US relations, that will continue to move forward and continue to move forward strongly and firmly.
Right, but sir, also during this meeting with Biden, our Prime Minister is also expected to brief him regarding his recent talks with his friend Vladimir Putin in Moscow and with the Ukrainian President, Mr. Zelensky in Kyiv. What do you make of the position India is in at the moment?
I think, initially, right when the war started in February 22, there was some, quite a bit of misgivings and concern that India had not condemned, criticized Russia directly in so many words for the attack on the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the country. And secondly, that it was continuing to buy oil from Russia. But I think with the passage of time, there has been much better understanding, much greater understanding, and even grudging acceptance of the Indian position. Of course, there was another shock and a jolt when Prime Minister Modi visited Moscow recently in July. And, I think in the West, when they saw that there was the embrace and the hug between the two leaders, that did, result in some critical comments. But I think Prime Minister's visit to Ukraine and his interaction with President Zelensky, also meeting with President Zelensky in Apulia on the sidelines of the G7 summit. And the fact that both the sides, both Ukraine and Russia, have said that India can play a meaningful role as far as bringing the two countries together, trying to get a ceasefire or trying to get, better understanding or getting them on the negotiating table. I think that is something that Prime Minister will brief President Biden. You would recall that when he came back from Ukraine, the second day, the next day, there was a conversation between President Biden and Prime Minister Modi, and he briefed him, and he briefed Putin also the next day after that. So I think, and Mr. Doval has also met Putin during his recent visit to St. Petersburg. So I think there are so many things up in the air, and this will be a very substantive conversation and a substantive meeting that he has with Mr. Biden.
Well, sir, thank you so much, as always, for making time for us and joining us on the NDTV
Always
network.
a pleasure, Parmeshwar. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Meanwhile, some argue that Prime Minister Modi's outreach to the diaspora while he's going to be touching down in the US is best described as an exercise in extraterritorial nationalism that serves multiple strategic and diplomatic purposes. But in other crucial news that we're tracking, India described as inaccurate a media report that said India-made ammunition was being used by Ukraine. In fact, reacting to the report in an international news agency, the Ministry of External Affairs has said the report was speculative and misleading. A statement by MEA spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal said, it implies violations by India where none exist and hence is inaccurate and mischievous. The media report had said India-made ammunition was being used in Ukraine to fire at Russian targets. Sources said no sales of ammunition had been made to Ukraine from India. In fact, the MEA said categorically, India has an impeccable track record of compliance with international obligations on the export of military and dual-use items. Meanwhile, Israeli warplanes bombarded southern Lebanon shortly after Hezbollah's leader warned that retribution will come following 2 days of deadly attacks involving walkie-talkies and pagers that were blowing up. The attacks involve a mysterious supply chain of devices spanning several countries. In fact, a Japanese company is probing the use of its discontinued walkie-talkies And Taiwan is investigating pages that bore a local Taiwanese brand, which indicated the involvement of a Hungarian firm that is reportedly part of an Israeli front. The attacks, though, highlight the near impossibility of securing modern electronic supply chains, experts argue, like pushing the West to localize production of critical technologies. By the way, it's also the first frightening glimpse of a world where no electronics can actually ever be fully trusted.
تم استهداف من قبل العدو الإسرائيلي آلاف أجهزة البيجر وتم تفجيرها في وقت واحد. العدو تجاوز في هذه العملية كل الضوابط والقوانين والخطوط الحمراء. لم يكترث لأي شيء على الإطلاق، لا أخلاقيا ولا إنسانيا ولا قانونيا. ماذا يمكن أن نسمي هذا العمل الإجرامي؟ هو عملية إرهابية كبرى، هو إبادة جماعية، هو مجزرة. نحن سنتبنى مصطلح مجزرة الثلاثاء ومجزرة الأربعاء، أو مجزرتي الثلاثاء والأربعاء.
Ghazali is tracking the details closely. He joins us live at the moment. Ghazali, Israeli warplanes have carried out more than 52 strikes across southern Lebanon. Any comment from Israel yet?
Yes, Israel did start launching aerial strikes in Lebanon the moment Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah chief, started addressing the nation. And this is in line with what has been happening in the last 72 hours in Lebanon, that during funerals also there were explosions from the pager and walkie-talkies. And yesterday, when Hassan Nasrallah was addressing the nation, addressing his cadres, basically his support base back in Iran or say, even in Lebanon, he was very clear saying that Israel has thrown a challenge. And I am now throwing a challenge that perhaps what Israel says that it will bring back all its residents who have left the northern border, that they will bring it back and settle there. So I am throwing a challenge that they will never be able to do that. So perhaps we will have to see whether it's just empty rhetoric or threats from Hezbollah. But yesterday, while Israel attacked multiple sites which is believed to be of Hezbollah's commanders, is what Israel claims. But even Lebanon has also hit multiple targets, and though the rockets fell on the northern border in empty ground, but certainly attacks have happened from both sides.
Right.
But what Israel has done, aerial, all the visuals which has come out, it certainly shows that while Mr. Nasrallah was addressing the nation, there were flares, there were fire and explosions across the country.
Yes.
At multiple locations. Israel claims that perhaps this was yet again a preemptive strike to ensure that Hezbollah or Lebanon doesn't attack or retaliate later.
Thanks so much, Ghazali, for joining us with that crucial update. Qatar Airways, meanwhile, has banned pagers and two-way radios from its flights out of Beirut after dozens were killed and thousands injured in Lebanon this week in device explosions targeting the Hezbollah militant movement. In the wake of the Trojan horse blasts, which Hezbollah has blamed on Israel, all passengers flying from Beirut's airport are prohibited from carrying pagers and walkie-talkies on board. This is what the airline has said in an official statement. In fact, the ban applies to both checked-in and carry-on luggage, as well as cargo, and will be enforced until further notice. Well, to the United Kingdom now, a long and expensive visa route for immigrants has been called racist after analysis showed most applicants who feel forced to go through it are people of color. The 10-year route visa is used by hundreds of thousands of people who are not eligible for other immigration schemes because of a lack of income or professional qualifications. So many work in low-paid jobs such as cleaning or care work. Other common routes to settlement in the UK take 5 years, but Guardian's analysis of Home Office data in the UK showed that all but one country in the top 10 nationalities who felt forced to use their route were those with predominantly minority ethnic populations. In fact, the top 5 were Nigeria, Pakistan, India, Ghana, and Bangladesh. Well, news and updates continue in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter.
And impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
To the seat of power, Delhi.
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV. 8 a.m. every day.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Election sunrise is on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections after a gap of 10 years.
For the BJP, it's a referendum on Article 370. For the Congress and regional parties, it's a battle for survival. An election that will go down in the history. Watch the most comprehensive, the most nuanced, and the most power-packed coverage only on NDTV.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter.
And impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
To the seat of power, Delhi.
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV. 8 a.m. every day.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Election sunrise is on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections.
Well, ahead of polls in Sri Lanka, their president tells NDTV about China's growing presence. The South Asian and Indian Ocean region is going through a difficult time. Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe told NDTV. Listen in.
How do you see India's role in Sri Lanka from here on? You've been a friend to India. Sri Lanka also has a very delicate balancing act, so to say, to play in the region. First of all, what is your vision of the India-Sri Lanka relationship from here on?
There has to be close economic and relationship. Social and cultural, I won't say that's been happening for thousands of years, and we are all there. So, but we have to have a stronger economic relationship, and that's already mentioned in the vision statement that Prime Minister Modi and I issued.
Yes, indeed. So would that be in terms of more line of credit from India? Would it be in terms of probably picking up specific development projects? Would it be in terms of some long-term infrastructure projects that you would want India to step in on? Because all these are areas where economic engagements can be deepened.
We want first to encourage more investments from India, more tourists from India. Infrastructure projects, yes, we are working together with India on the issue of development of the Trincomalee Harbour.
Yeah.
So there will be one that fits into it. But as I said, we'd like India to come and invest in Sri Lanka, and certainly with this great takeoff you have, we should also learn how to benefit from it.
Absolutely. Sitting in New Delhi, the kind of commentary that comes during an election, one is of course what you are saying and your vision, but some of your opponents are also saying, and they have made some very strong remarks against India. Yes, it's an election cycle, there is rhetoric, but how should New Delhi be reading some of the very strident remarks made against India by some of the other opposition candidates?
I think first is to watch the elections and see what happens then. There will be some groups that will make anti-Indian remarks. You can't stop that. What you have to do is to minimize it. And as far as India-Sri Lanka friendship is concerned, that's decided by the people. They've already decided and finished.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and strengthen it.
Well, thank you for investing your time in watching this edition of The World 24/7. We'll keep tracking the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Election sun rises on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections after a gap of 10 years.
For the BJP, it's a referendum on Article 370. For the Congress and regional parties, it's a battle for survival. An election that will go down in the history. Watch the most comprehensive, the most nuanced, and the most power-packed coverage only on NDTV.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.